Sem mais delongas, eu queria chamar o Ben Smith on the stage. Please welcome Ben.
Thank you so much, Bia. You're amazing at throwing stickers. This is and this is an amazing conference. It is so nice to be with like all the people from the internet, like us, and so I guess that was basically the best part. I'm also going to speak in English, and if I'm speaking either too fast or if I'm getting really boring, please like signal to me that this is happening. And I guess I thought I would start just by introducing Buzzfeed a little, although I think that of anyone in Brazil, of any place in Brazil, this is probably the place that least needs an introduction to what we do. But Buzzfeed is a website really based on the idea that when people open their computer, when they open their phones, they're going to Twitter, they're going to Facebook, they're going to WhatsApp, they're going to social sites, and that the challenge for publishers like us is to do stuff that's good enough that it gets into these social sites. And that's actually like much harder than just writing a good headline or something like that. And that means, on Facebook, it can mean the happiest moments in the history of animals. It can also mean, breaking news about the NSA. Your neighbor Glenn Greenwald has been doing pretty well on the social web lately. And so, that we've tried very hard to do both of those things. And I think we see this as part of a big shift in the nature of the internet, which 10 years ago really was dominated by these big portals like Yahoo, where the challenge really was just to write a headline that people would click. The headline could say, Paris Hilton topless, and you click on it and she's in a car with no top. It can be very misleading. But people would come to the portals. The headline was everything. And from there it went really to particularly to search engines, where a lot of publishers spend all their time worrying about how do you trick Google into putting my story on the top. And none of us got into journalism to do this. It's to fool machines. But I think a lot of publications spend a lot of time thinking about this, which really isn't very interesting. Myself, I come out of the American political blogging world, which was the alternate world, where we covered, the Obama campaign. And this was a lot of fun covering President Obama in 2008. And there were a handful of blogs that were really kind of at the center of this conversation. And it was a lot of fun to write one of them. If you stopped for 10 minutes, people would email and ask if you were dead. But in 2009, you could really feel that Twitter just sucked the life out of that blogosphere, and the conversation that had been happening among blogs move over to Twitter. And very quickly, it wasn't just the people talking about politics. It was everyone. It was the politicians. It was kind of the news itself. And so, one of my reporters tweets a criticism of this politician, of this Senator Mikulski from Maryland, in the middle of a hearing on spying, and 2 minutes later, she picks up her BlackBerry and is yelling at my reporter in the middle of the room. And this is, who's having a heart attack. But but there was this just very, very dramatic shift. And so for us, this notion that Twitter, that Facebook are the starting point has worked, we feel like it's been borne out. We're getting most of our traffic mobile from social, from a young audience, and we're up to 80 million uniques a month. And for us, the key sort of distribution is not the airwaves, and it's not the printing presses, but it's what we call the board at work network. It's people sitting at their computers during the day, sharing on Facebook, sharing on Twitter. I mean, I think there are a lot of very bored Brazilians because there's a lot of sharing going on in Brazil. But this is a network that's bigger than Globo, and as the web has changed, it's not just the board at work network. It's also with mobile become the board online network. And again, I know there's a lot of standing online here, so maybe that has something to do with it. But just people. The thing that we see most really is people watching our videos when they're on their way home from work, standing online for the bus, and this is really our whole bet is that this is how content travels, and that we're not, and that these are the new airwaves, these are the new printing presses, these new networks of people. And you'll hear people here, I'm sure, talk about the rise of social, the rise of mobile, and global, and the globalization of all these things. And I think in our view, it's kind of the same thing. It's a kid, it's one of you guys walking down the street in Rio, looking at her phone, looking at Facebook, sharing something. And the main thing we think about is why people share. And I think our basic view is that there's always like a pretty practical reason. And for instance, why do people share pictures of cute animals? And I guess Christmas is coming up, but I think one of the really key reasons is when you share a picture of an animal, you sort of share an emotion, you share it with your family in the way that, like, if you go home for Christmas and the best moment of the entire time is when the family dog comes out, everybody pets the dog, everybody feels closer to one another, everyone goes back to hating each other immediately after that. But so people share really these emotions in order to share an experience with their friends. And the internet, where old media is arranged often around politics, sports, entertainment, the web now is really organized around emotion, and that's why our site is organized into these reaction buttons, which we have translated into Portuguese for our Brazilian site. I won't, me Deus fofo. There is a lot of controversy about whether we should use ha 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 or LOL. CG told me it should be LOL, so maybe we'll change it. I don't know what people here think. Please tweet at me if you think it should be something different from what it is. But really that these emotional reactions are really, in a way, the common language of the web. And which a common language that's familiar to everybody here as it is to everybody in New York, whether it's whether it's Korean, whether it's K-pop or Grumpy Cat, who just got a movie deal. I think this is supposed to be a GIF. He may be moving, I'm not sure. Or your favorite British toddlers. But this at its core is something very human that transcends borders, that works as well in New York as in Paris, as in Rio. And one of the really central factors to what people share is this notion of identity. This was from one of our posts about what it's like to be left-handed. Only 10% of people are left-handed, but if you're left-handed, you know how annoying it is to get that ink on your hand when you write. And so this is something felt very strongly by left-handed people. Again, nothing like sharing a joke with a friend. And again, this is as much about feeling close to your friends as it is about the content of the joke. And this was a inspiration. This was one of our most widely shared posts. Just a story of a soldier badly wounded, his girlfriend kind of bringing him back. Cute animals deserve respect for that reason. And people also share causes they believe in. I mean, we focus a lot on LGBT rights because that's something that, certainly for our audience, 18 to 24, that they care about most. And so if you're proud of your identity or if you want to sort of make a statement about your politics, is this a clicker? Will it work? Some Bluetooth issue. But you guys, I sort of moved fast through this because I think people in Brazil, people here at this conference most of all, kind of already knew this. Brazil is really like a crazy place for the internet. And I mean, maybe you're tired of these statistics, but one of the reasons this is the first, we get more traffic from Brazil than any other non-English country. And these numbers are just insane. I don't know, you guys have a lot of time on your hands, which you spend on, such estimable websites as Now Salvo and UPix. And we've seen our traffic really go crazy in Brazil, mostly to a mix of English language content, community contributors working in Portuguese. And so what we're launching today is a new stream, a mix of translated content and original Portuguese content. The translation is coming through this very cool system created by a guy named Louis van Aan, and he's best known for creating the CAPTCHA, that little box when you log into a website that you use to prove that you're human. And he then created a second little box on some websites that not only proves that you're human, but is part of a project to digitize all the world's great books. And the combination of, in his view, is that a combination of humans and algorithms works better than either working alone. And again, I think the story about this was like the most shared thing ever on UPix. So I don't know if you guys have seen it, but a lot of 29,000 Brazilians liked it. And his app is something called Duolingo. I don't know if anyone here uses it. People here use it. I'm using it to learn Portuguese. I can say, os gatos comem peixe. It's a very, very useful phrase that I try to use all the time here. But one of the things that language learners on Duolingo like me are doing is translating Buzzfeed posts, among other things, translating kind of fun, entertaining content from English to Portuguese. It beats, the book is on the table. And so our posts are translated into Portuguese by Duolingo in this really amazing system. And we are launching today, but one of them escaped a test post the other day. Sinas de que você já tem case frente? Okay, I need to work harder on my Duolingo. Thank you. It just escaped. We were trying to hide it on Buzzfeed, but it got out and some Brazilians saw it, and pretty soon it had 235,000 views. So we are very excited about the potential for the new Buzzfeed Brazil, which is if you go in your browsers right now on your phones to BuzzFeed.com, you'll get a mixture of Portuguese and English and basically our best content translated into Portuguese. And yeah, we hope you will, may Deus it. So anyway, obviously Brazil had to be the first place we come. As you may know, this historical first @reply to Justin Bieber was "Come to Brazil." So we've answered that call. BuzzFeed Brazil is now live, and I just wanted to end with a video that one of our video producers, herself Brazilian, has made for us. Thank you so much. Thank you, Ella, for making that amazing video. I would love to take some questions if anybody's got some in English or in Portuguese. Yeah, go ahead. Bea's in charge. Just do what she says.
Hi, Ben.
Hi.
Hi. First, I just want to say that I love Buzzfeed. I'm one of those Brazilians that stay there. My question is regarding the launch of Buzzfeed Brazil. Will we still be able to read it in English? Because I work for an English course and I produce the web material for the English course, and Buzzfeed is one of our best sources. So will we still be able to choose? Because sometimes when websites come here, they just have the Portuguese version and we lose the original English.
Yeah, your English is pretty good.
Thank you.
It's a bit better than my Portuguese. Yes,
Well, I've studied for a long time.
You can, you can click very easily back to the English version. And I think, we have a ton of traffic to our English content, and I think in the way that probably your Twitter feed, your Facebook has a mixture of English and Portuguese, our Portuguese site is going to have a lot of English content on it. But yeah, you can always very easily toggle back, and yeah, don't worry.
It's just the best website with the best sources to keep our students entertained. So
Great question.
Hi. In Buzzfeed, you have a lot of different. You have the serious part and you have the funny part. How do you work daily in office that conteúdo?
How do we sort of divide the serious and the silly?
It's the same person that writes.
It's mostly not the same person. Like usually the funniest person in the room is not the best person at like getting a source drunk in a bar and getting him to say some secret. So we mostly have kind of specialists. Some people are great at making funny lists of animals. Some people are great at breaking political stories. A few people are great at both, but not very many. So we do more have people specialized.
Mais alguém pergunta? Vai lá.
Hey there, Ben.
How do you go?
Is Buzzfeed Brazil going to be just a translation from the international Buzzfeed, or are we going to get some exclusive material? Like, are you going to have a whole newsroom just for stories comprehending Brazil, or are you just translating the sites into Brazilian content?
The question is if BuzzFeed Brazil is just going to be translation, or if we're going to like hire actual Brazilians. We have a couple of Brazilians. Cons over there is one of them in New York. Say hello. In New York, making a bit of content that's really focused on Brazil, and also translation. And this is for us like a little experiment right now. If it goes well, which we think and hope it will, we do hope that we'll probably look to hire an editor here in Brazil pretty soon and build a team here, the way we have in the United Kingdom and Australia. So you should send me your resumes. ben@buzzfeed.com. Am I going to get a lot of email? Got a question here.
Not here.
I would like to know. I want you to just tell us a little bit more about the integration of Buzzfeed and what's the name of the technology? ReCAPTCHA. You say something about reCAPTCHA. I would like to know how have you decided to integrate the reCAPTCHA system to your website? How is it?
It's not
working?
it's not the reCAPTCHA system. It's the same guy who invented reCAPTCHA, created Duolingo on basically the same principle, which is just this notion that if you have crowdsourcing of people working together and also very smart algorithms, you get a better result than just the people or just Google Translate, And so far we found like it's great. I mean, we have editors look over everything, but they're really pretty good translations. They're better, certainly, than a machine, which will always give you crazy, very formal things which don't work on the internet.
I've been reading some articles that say that BuzzFeed is killing and saving journalism at the same time. In which ways do you think you're killing it, and in which ways do you think you're saving it? How do you
I don't think we're killing it. I mean, we're hiring lots of young journalists in New York, and hopefully, starting soon other places. And I think this shift toward the social web has been great for the best reporters who want to create the kind of stuff that that people really love and want to share. It's been hard for print publications in particular, who really saw the notion that you're producing stories to fill a space in a newspaper that doesn't really exist anymore. And it's certainly tough for websites that were very, very focused on tricking search engines. But that was like a kind of a nightmare, so I'm glad that's over.
So you think you're the future of journalism? Is BuzzFeed the future?
I mean, I hope...
It's the present.
I think it's the present. I hope it's the future.
That's good. Another pergunta.
Hi. As you have the serious part and the funny part of the website, how can you make people who only go to the website to see the funny lists, make them want to see the serious part and the other parts? Is there any trick you use, or how do you do that?
No, we don't. I think that we believe that most people love animals, and also they want to know what's going on in the world. But we don't. There's definitely not. We don't try to trick people into reading serious things by telling them that it will be fun. And in fact, different stories live in different places. Politics really lives on Twitter, and for people who are obsessed with politics, the front page is not BuzzFeed, it's Twitter, and our job is to try to get. And the animals really, most of all on Facebook, and so, and for people who also live on Facebook, that is mostly what they're seeing. But I think most people they pet the dog, they read about what's going on in Sao Paulo, it's the same person doing both things.
Me again. Where do you get your traffic from, Twitter or Facebook? Because Twitter in Brazil is not as big anymore, and Facebook has been growing like crazy. How?
Facebook is bigger than anything. I mean, just people...
Numbers, right?
Yeah, it's just so huge. We get a lot of traffic from Twitter. We get a lot of traffic from Pinterest, which I think is not so big here.
No.
But it's really huge in the U.S. right now. And Saturday morning traffic is all how to make your living room...
Mothers.
Yeah, or how to make a baby's crib. Yeah.
Mais alguma?
Hey, good night. How long you work for worth some money, and how you worth money with BuzzFeed?
How do we make money? So we sell ads.
And how long you work for it?
So say it in Portuguese.
How long time working for
BuzzFeed?
Make some money?
I don't totally understand the question.
How long you work for make some money?
How long have BuzzFeed... when BuzzFeed started to make money?
Oh, yeah.
How long did it take?
I think we became profitable this year.
Only this year? But you had investors, right?
Sorry?
Investors?
We raised money from venture capitalists who kind of let us do whatever we wanted. But actually, the way we wound up making money is in some ways very traditional. We sell advertising.
Isn't there any other way?
It's hard work.
Yeah, I know.
But it is, we try to sell advertising that is not terrible, because so much advertising on the internet, it flashes and it drops across the page. And
you don't have the banners and stuff like that, right?
We do no display advertising. It's all native content that we hope people like.
Native content is the thing right now.
That's what I hear.
Yeah. Mais pergunta?
Hi. Talking about the team you have at BuzzFeed in a place like New York, how many professionals do you have over there? Can you describe how many of them, web designers, programmers, how many of them do you have?
How many people?
Yeah, you have all kind of professionals you have over there.
Right, so we have, the company is 350 people. Is that a lot?
I thought you were going to say 10 or 15 people working over there.
Thanks a lot. So we have, and about 130 are people in editorial who are creating either entertaining content or they're reporters, covering the White House or something, or increasingly they're working in Portuguese or Spanish or French. And then we have a very strong team of developers. All our technology is, we make ourselves, which I think is for us a big advantage. So we've probably got 40 or 50 developers, and the balance are on the business side.
What about web designers? How many you have?
Designers and developers. So a lot. And we do think it's really important that we're able to make our own content, to make our own kind of forms, because the forms of the internet can get very tired, and so you want to find new ways to tell stories. And it's
this team only U.S. You have all these people only U.S. or
that's all. That's mostly U.S. We've got about 15 people in London, and a couple in Australia, and hopefully soon some in Brazil.
Hi. I saw some discussions on Twitter this week when they were saying, "Oh, BuzzFeed is coming to Brazil." Would they be able to do with Brazilian celebrities what they do with American celebrities, like a gift appreciation post about Ryan Gosling's body? Some other websites in Brazil, when they joke around celebrities, they got sued. It's kind of common here. Are you ready? Have you ever been sued about some joke with celebrities?
No, I mean, it is certainly something that that I'm not the expert in, but that we're thinking about. That Brazilian law treats, like, the whole issue of biography also, like, treats is so different. We have the First Amendment. We can say whatever we want. Yeah, it's something we're thinking about. I mean, it does seem like, I've been reading a lot of Now Salvo this week. It seems like he gets away with a little bit of making fun of people.
Hey, me again. Ben, like in Brazil, we have a serious case of lack of transparency in media. We experience mainly in the journals that there's always a polarization of which side journals are taking. I think this is actually worldwide. How does BuzzFeed act with transparency and polarization of information?
Yeah, I mean, we come out of this American political tradition of being neutral, which I think doesn't exist so much in most of Europe and also here. I mean, I don't think we are not going to, politics will not be the first thing we do. It's obviously, very complicated here, and I think we want to start in probably with more entertaining content and kind of figure out the landscape before we dive into an election campaign. Last question? Two more.
Hi Ben. Recently, Washington Post was bought by Amazon. We saw last week that eBay is going to start to founding Alan Greenwald. And how do you see this process when internet starts to swallow traditional media?
I mean, I think at this point, the internet basically has swallowed traditional media. I mean, I don't know. I mean, they still are cutting down trees. They're printing newspapers, but the real life of the media now is online. And I think it's just a matter of how. But I think it's great that all this money is being invested in, your friend based in Rio here, Glenn, who I had, and in the Post. I mean, it can only be a good thing, basically. But I do think the internet media sort of has to grow up and stop feeling like we're the little brother.
Bom, como eu ainda estou estudando no Duolingo, eu queria fazer uma pergunta em português mesmo. E eu queria saber se a maior parte do tráfego do BuzzFeed vem do Facebook. E se o BuzzFeed sobreviveria sem uma fanpage.
I'm not far enough in Duolingo to totally grasp that.
Ele respondeu que o Facebook, eu perguntei de onde vinha, ele falou que o Facebook é a maior. She was asking about where the traffic comes, if it's from Facebook mostly, and I said yes, because you already said that. And the second part is if you think you would survive without a fan page on Facebook.
Without a fan page? Yeah. I think that people overestimate the importance of a fan page. I mean, you have to make great things that people actually want to share. A fan page is nice. It's like having a homepage. But ultimately, the way stuff really goes viral is because lots of individual people make choices kind of down the line to share it. And I think, yeah, and that's the real viral traffic. And in fact, I mean, this is what we saw with this hit we had a couple of weeks ago in Brazil, is we were trying to hide it. It was just a test, but because people really liked it and shared it, it went crazy. We didn't put it on any Facebook page. And so I do think, yeah, you have to think about people's decision to share things, not really about what you're putting on your page.
Alguém mais? I have one last question. Actually, we can go on. I have one question.
Come on up.
Tell me, for real, one secret for doing mobile, social, viral content. Because you make it seem so easy.
No, I think
really not.
It's really hard. I mean, I think that's the thing is people, I think you often hear kind of traditional media companies say, oh God, we've got to go do these cheap, easy lists just to survive.
Yeah. Is it all about
But that's
that?
the hard stuff. You have to like really respect it and love it. And it's really, really hard work. And it's like harder work to make 33 animals who are disappointed in you than it is to get some politician drunk and get him to tell you something. Like that's easy,
How many posts do you put online per day?
I think we probably put like between 300 and 400.
300?
We have 130 people. It's not that much.
Uau! Vocês ouviram isso? 300 ou 400 posts por dia. And how many really go viral? Like
Not that many, like a small percentage.
Like 10% or...
Yeah, probably.
Which is also good, right? I mean...
I'm just making up the numbers now.
But do you think you have to put out a lot of content to get the virality you need, or is it just like proportionally?
No, I think it's hard, and the thing is, novelty is so important, and so if you really think you've figured it out and you've like have a way to do it, immediately everyone gets bored of that because it's not new anymore, and you have to find something new.
If you're like a small content producer, like we have here, like small bloggers and YouTubers, what would be the tip? Like do this, because we don't have the algorithm, we don't have the technology you have. I know that's really important for the way you create your content and stuff. And we don't have 400 people working. We have only like 2 people. How do you do this?
I mean, I do think it's just that there's no trick, that you have to be really obsessed with what you're doing and respect it and work really hard at it and do a good job. I know that's like not a good answer.
No, that's not a good answer. But we'll take it. Pessoal, alguém tem mais alguma pergunta pro Ben? Buzzfeed Ben? Ali, ó. Você leva pra... Tem uma lá e outra ali.
Oh, sorry, me again. When you were talking about the content, recently I've seen some user-generated content on Buzzfeed. So how do you deal with that? What's the percentage of user-generated content?
Yeah. When Buzzfeed started, I think the people who founded it every investor would rather finance a platform than some company that actually has to hire people and pay them money. And so it started with the idea that it would be all user generated, it would just be a great platform. Then I think they realized that because the best content does so much better than the second best, that ultimately it's important to have professionals and learn and get better. But we've also kept this but as our platform has gotten better, it's a great place to publish. And so we have a community. It's actually been growing a lot. And I think of it basically, there are all these different social networks. There's Twitter, there's Facebook, there's Tumblr. But if you want to make something that's going to be shared on all of those networks, our platform is a really good one. That's what it's made for. If you want something really that's just for one of those networks, if it's just a tweet, if it's just a Facebook note, those are amazing platforms. But if you want something that's sort of optimized to be shared in all those places, that's really what our platform is for. So we've had a couple of really awesome Brazilian community posts. We had one that was about how to unfriend your friends who like terrible music. That was like a very useful service.
Hi, you said you had about 300 posts a day and 10% going viral, but what would you call viral? I mean, how do you measure it? How do you call it really a post viral? It's page views, how do you measure it?
Yeah, I really totally made up that number because Bea was pushing me. So that's part of the problem here. But I mean, to me, our most important metric is what we call social lift, which is the ratio between the number of the traffic that comes from somewhere else and the traffic that comes from BuzzFeed. So, we would like to see more traffic coming from some other place than from BuzzFeed.com. And I think we're not trying to train people to write the best headlines that people will click on. And we don't see it as a success if somebody gets 200,000 clicks from BuzzFeed, but nobody shares it. What we want is more traffic coming from outside than coming from inside. I mean, really, truly, crazily viral stuff, like this Signs That You Are Almost 30 post, had like 250 times as much traffic from elsewhere as from BuzzFeed. But that's sort of the ratio. And I don't know if it's really 10%. Got any more questions? Perguntas?
If I ask you one more question, you're gonna kill me, right?
I'll be here all night.
I need data. Where's the data? No, I'm kidding. People, I don't have any more questions. No, I have a whole bunch, like 100, 300, too. And 10% are viral. If you like, you do this, then they'll think about the question.
Eu vou falar em português, que eu estou meio enferrujado no inglês, mas depois traduz aí. Uma coisa que tem acontecido no Brasil, principalmente nesses últimos meses, são os conflitos, protestos dos professores. E algo que surgiu foi a mídia alternativa. Eu queria saber o que ele acha dessa mídia alternativa, no caso a mídia ninja, que tem acontecido aqui no Rio de Janeiro, São Paulo. O que ele acha dessa mídia, no caso?
Have you heard of Media Ninja? Some guys from Brazil that with the riots, they started to go and shoot everything live, and now people love Media Ninja and hate TV, Global TV.
I mean, I know that people are very suspicious of the mainstream coverage of the protests.
Yeah, so that's his question. What do you think about the new indie media that's coming up with the riots, that they weren't here before and they didn't have power?
Yeah, I mean, I think you saw the same thing around Occupy, that it was covered, by these guys filming on their phones. I mean, I do think it reflects this sense that the older media is sort of part of the establishment and that it can't be trusted and that people are looking for something new. And I do think these technologies, give you this unfiltered view of these events, these live streams that maybe aren't going to be watched by millions of people, but for the people who care most, give this very authentic narrative.
Legal. Mais alguma? Já sabemos tudo o que a gente queria saber sobre o fenômeno BuzzFeed? I think people have asked everything they wanted to know.
That's all there is to know.
But Ben, if they want to ask some questions, they can send you some questions at...
Yeah, they should tweet at me, at BuzzFeed Ben.
BuzzFeed, is it on BuzzFeed Ben? No Twitter, se vocês quiserem falar com o Ben. Se vocês quiserem mandar um e-mail com perguntas, é ben@buzzfeed.com. Se vocês quiserem mandar currículo, so BuzzFeed's hiring. Quiserem mandar resume, currículo, ben@buzzfeed.com. And if they want to send you some gifts, cute gifts, they can send you too.
As long as they don't take up too much space in my inbox. Yeah. I have so many gifts every few days.
What's your favorite? Do you have a favorite? What do you think of gifts as a form of art?
I think anything's a form of art, right?
Yeah, I really think gifts are like the media that makes sense for this time we're living.
Yeah, they're this universal language.
Yeah, everybody understands. Some people who like gifts, they're just for fun. They don't teach you anything, blah, blah, blah. They hate gifts no, right?
How could you hate
gifts? Gifts! Quem ama GIF? Quem não ama GIF? Quem não tá afim de responder? Quem sabe o que é GIF? É porque, meu, 3 pessoas no... Okay, so people like gifts.
This is
Ben?
this is the right audience.
Yeah, they're like, yeah, gifts. I think they're tired. Muito bem, pessoal. BuzzFeed, Ben!
Thank you so much. Obrigado.
Thank you so much, Ben.